Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Only 50 days now till the World Championship match between Carlsen and Caruana. That's just over 7 weeks. It will all start on November 9th in London. And on Chess to Impress we continue the countdown from 100 days till 0. Carlsen-Caruana is the 47th match in the history of the undisputed and official World Championship. And in this build-up we're looking at the first 46 matches. We've arrived in 1958, we are in the middle of the Botvinnik era. He just lost his world title to Vasily Smyslov. The FIDE rules gave him the right to a rematch the following year. It was the best of 24 games and in case of a 12-12 outcome, Smyslov would retain the title. Botvinnik was lucky in 1951 and 1954 that that rule existed when he drew his matches against Bronstein and Smyslov. Botvinnik started the 1958 match, the rematch, very well with 3 straight wins in the first 3 games. And a remarkable thing happened in game 15 when Botvinnik overstepped the time limit in a very good position just before the second time control. Botvinnik regained the title by reaching the 12.5 points after 23 games. He won 7 games, he lost 5 and there were 11 draws. Here we see both players at the board, not a great picture, but the only one I could find about the 1958 match. On the left we see world champion Smyslov, on the right the challenger, Mikhail Botvinnik. In this video we're going to look at game 11 from this match. Let's get into it. I chose this game as it shows the continued discussion on a particular line in the Grunfeld Indian defense. You can see the previous game which was played in the 1957 match in video number 397. The previous video in this series. White was Smyslov, black was Botvinnik. It was the 1st of April 1958 and Smyslov opened with d4, knight f6 and there we see the moves of the Grunfeld. Knight f3, bishop g7, queen to b3, attacking the pawn on d5 with 3 pieces. Black took, queen takes, Botvinnik castled, e4 setting up a big center, bishop g4, and that is the Smyslov variation. So Botvinnik plays the Smyslov variation against Smyslov. Bishop e3, knight fd7, and now in the previous match, in the game I covered on the 1957 match, Smyslov had castled queenside here in game 6, and that game was won in great style by Smyslov. You can check out the video. But in 1958, a year later, he also played the rook to d1, but without the king going to c1. No castling, just rook a1 to d1. Knight b6, hitting the queen, queen dropped back, and knight c6 developing. d5, kicking that knight, knight went to e5, bishop e2, and knight takes f3 check. Smyslov decides to keep the bishops on the board. He could have taken with the bishop. Bishop takes, g takes. But he decided to take on f3 with the pawn straight away, keeping the light squared bishops on the board. Botvinnik dropped back with his bishop, h4, and queen d7. Here's a variation from Grandmaster Raymond Keane. He said f4 is possible here. Bishop takes, knight takes, and c6. Attacking white's center with equality according to Grandmaster Keane. But Smyslov decided on a4 instead of f4. a5, an important moment. Botvinnik decides not to win the pawn on a4, which he could have done. With, instead of a5, he could have taken on c3 with check. Yes, giving up that beautiful Grunfeld bishop. That's a big decision. And then according to Grandmaster Keane, white should take with the pawn. And then black can win the pawn on a4 with queen takes, knight takes, but then king d2 with compensation for the pawn for white. Black's knight is in an awkward position there on a4. But as said, Botvinnik decided against winning the pawn on a4. He played a5. Knight b5, knight c8. Botvinnik is rerouting his knight to d6. Bishop d4, counter-attacking the Grunfeld bishop. And knight d6, which Smyslov calls an unsuccessful maneuver. in his comments to this game. He thought that black should have taken on d4, knight takes, and the knight back to b6, with a slight edge for white, as Smyslov writes. Bishop b5 hitting the queen, queen d6, and he says that white could then have retained attacking chances with rook g1. The comments from Smyslov on this game. But as mentioned, Botvinnik did not take on d4, he played knight d6. Smyslov did swap the bishops, king takes, and now knight d4. And Smyslov writes, the knight is very well placed here, hindering the undermining possibilities c6 and e6. King back to g8, and Smyslov played rook g1, which he called the most energetic move. Attacking black's king, that's the idea. Queen h3. Smyslov writes, sensing the danger, black tries to complicate matters by the following queen maneuver. The alternative is c6, and then d takes, b takes, and queen c3, attacking the weakened pawns on a5 and c6 with a good position for white. So queen h3 was played, as Smyslov writes, Botvinnik is sensing the danger and tries to complicate matters. Queen e3, very strong move. Smyslov writes, white consolidates his forces with the aim of playing his queen to h6 or to g5. In particular, he threatens queen g5 with a double attack on h5 and e7. The attack on h5 is there because the g-pawn is pinned because of the rook on g1. So that's a threat. Smyslov writes that queen takes h4 would have been black's best chance, but then white is also having all the fun in the position. But Botvinnik made a mistake. He played c5, and that's a bad move. Smyslov writes, this loses without a fight. He took on c6 en passant, b takes, and queen g5, with a double threat of taking the bishop because the g-pawn is pinned and taking on e7. One variation Smyslov gives is king h8 on pinning the g-pawn, then queen takes e7, rook a d8 protecting the knight, and then queen f6 check, king g8, and knight takes c6, winning material for white. This knight is attacked twice, only defended once, and there's also the little threat of knight e7 checkmate in the position. This is totally winning for white. That was after king h8, but in the game Botvinnik played c5, counter-attacking white's knight, but knight c6 was played by Smyslov, and this caused Botvinnik to resign. Why did he resign? This bishop is still hanging, so if you play king h8 to unpin the g-pawn, then there is queen takes e7, attacking the unprotected knight with two pieces, and it has no safe squares to flee to. Knight c8 does not work because of checkmate in one move. And there's one last variation I have to show you after king h8. White should not try to be too cute by playing rook takes d6. Looks very strong, because if black takes, then there is queen f6 check, king g8, and knight e7 is checkmate. But after rook takes d6, black does not take, but plays the intermediate move f6, and black is back in the game. But after knight c6, Botvinnik resigned, and Smyslov reduced his deficit from 6.5, 3.5 after 10 games to 6.5, 4.5. But as you can see, Botvinnik then won the next game, game 12, and also game 14. Smyslov was never able to get back in the match, and Botvinnik regained the world title after 23 games. I realized that of the Botvinnik-Smyslov matches I have shown 3 wins from Smyslov, not doing justice to the great Mikhail Botvinnik, who was one of the greatest players in the history of our game. But Botvinnik played 3 more matches for the world title, and I'll make sure to show a nice win from him. So Botvinnik regained the world title and defended it 2 years later against an exciting 23-year-old magician from Latvia, Mikhail. And we'll see what happened in that match in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you like the video, if you like the series, please share it. on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. The link to this series is here, and this is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.